everyone, welcome to Lawyers Are Souls 2. This episode is going to be about fun, laughter, and living. Welcome, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me, Winnie. I'm a lawyer, practices in the Houston area. I also am a part-time professor at South Texas College of Law, Houston. And in my spare time, I also teach dancing. I'm a big believer in mental health. Having taken those breaks to relieve some stress, I picked up salsa dancing, and I teach salsa dancing to other people. People, when they find out I'm a lawyer, the salsa dancers they're surprised I'm a lawyer.
I know, in the legal profession, it can be very stressful.
Being able to put my mind in a different place helps me, gives me time to use one part of my brain, and then I can recharge the law part of my brain.
Thank you for reminding us that being a lawyer is just not as boring. And you don't have to lose your spark. You can put on your dancing shoes on a Friday night and go out and dance to salsa. Lawyers have souls too because what would be your answer?
I think at a fundamental level, I think most lawyers care about justice and fairness.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Lawyers Are Souls 2. This is your host, Winnie Jean-Pierre. This episode is going to be about fun, laughter, and living. We have a very special guest. I am super excited because I think he's the epitome of Lawyers Have Souls too. We were not boring. I find that he has an interesting life that he's going to share with us. So we are going talking about balance, joy, music, sports, because yes, lawyers can talk about law, but we can also have fun. So grab your coffee, maybe your dancing shoes. I didn't bring mine, sorry. But I got you guys next time. And let's get ready to have a fun conversation. Welcome, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for having me, Winnie.
Thank you for being on the podcast. So I usually have my guests introduce themselves because I don't know what you want to share and what you don't want to share. So tell us who you are.
Okay, well, I'm Michael Whitmeyer. And I guess when people ask me who I am or what I do, there are a lot of different things. So it's tough to narrow that down, but I'll start off and you can ask me questions to go different directions. I basically I'm a lawyer, practices in the Houston area. I also am a part-time professor at South Texas College of Law, Houston. And in my spare time, I also teach dancing. I guess when I say I'm from Houston, I was actually born in Michigan, Lansing, Michigan, which is where my father went up to Michigan to get a master's degree and a medical degree from Michigan State University. So while he was up there, while my parents were up there, my sister and I were born, but we came back to Houston because that's where my parents are from. So I don't really have any family in Michigan. Really, all my family is based from Houston. So I consider myself a Houstonian, root for Houston sports teams, enjoy the Houston area, which is where I've been living for a long time. So most of my education was in public schools through Houston. I was fortunate enough to get college at private institution. I went to Harvard College, got my bachelor's degree there. I got a scholarship to come back to the University of Texas School of Law in Austin. And I've basically been in Texas since then with my personal life and professional life.
That's wonderful. So fun facts, we have a studio. We were not at the studio today. I think this is the perfect episode for me to be somewhere else. I'm in a backyard with a nice pool. I love it. Wow, so much to unpack here. We'll start with you being an attorney. How did that start and why did you decide that you wanted to be an attorney?
Well, as I mentioned, my father was actually a doctor. And so for a long time, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. I guess both my parents, Rogers and Elsie Whitmeyer, they instilled education in me. So I think there was always an expectation, regardless of anything, I was definitely going to get a college degree. There was just no alternative for that. And I pretty much was going to get some kind of graduate school degree. For a long time, I thought I wanted to be a doctor. Probably around high school, I took biology. And that just really didn't connect with me. And I figured if I'm going to be a doctor, there are going to be a whole bunch of classes like this that I don't like. So I started thinking about other things. Business school or law school became the things that I thought about doing. I had some interest in law, just watching reruns of TV shows like Perry Mason, that type of thing, just seeing lawyers in the media, but I didn't have any lawyers in my immediate family that I knew, but it was interesting to me. And I guess during the summer after my freshman year of college, I got an opportunity to just be a volunteer intern at the Harris County District Attorney's Office. Harris County is where Houston is. and I really enjoyed it. So even though I was working with prosecutors in criminal law, I wound up not going that direction. I do civil law now, but it gave me an exposure to lawyers and what the law is about, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. So basically, at that point, law school was pretty much the destination for me.
Okay, perfect. So what are your areas of practice?
I focus mostly on business related issues. So either commercial litigation, lawsuits over business issues, or drafting and negotiating contracts. And so the class that I teach now at South Texas is for basically how to write contracts. So it's essentially the class that I wish I had in law school, in the sense of back when I was in law school, you had your first year contract theory course, but nobody told you how to actually write one. So I just kind of trial and error on the job, started off mostly in litigation, commercial litigation, insurance defense types of things. But some of the business cases I realized could have been resolved better if there'd been a better contract in the beginning. And so I started thinking, oh, that's something I can add to my practice. And I started doing it. And so now it's a mixture of litigation oriented things and contract things. And like I said, that's what I teach, how to write contracts.
That's interesting because I just realized that they didn't teach me how to write a contract when I took contract. And I did contract 1 and 2 in my law school. They broke it down in 2 parts. I really enjoyed contract. I had a wonderful contract professor, but yeah, she did not teach me. That's interesting. I usually ask this question at the end of the podcast, but what is one thing that you didn't learn in law school that looking back, you think would be essential? I think for the last guest that I had, we talked about a class on mental health. We said we think that this is something just like they have a class on ethics. That's a class that they should have. Aside from actually teaching people how to write a contract, what is something that you think that law school should be teaching?
Well, a couple of things. And when you mentioned mental health, that's definitely something that I don't know that the law school could teach, but can definitely encourage. And so I think one of the things I like about South Texas, where I teach, is they have systems that are very supportive for the students who are going through issues. Again, as a professor, sometimes I'm talking with students about personal issues, not just how they're doing on a paper that they're writing for me or contract that they're drafting for me, but it becomes more personal issues. And so I'm a big believer in mental health, having taken those breaks to relieve some stress, put your mind on other things other than law. So I guess even if it's not a class, I would encourage it. I guess from a practical perspective of a class, I know there are some schools that have things like law practice management. My current law practice is a solo practice. And so I think the business side of law is what needs to be maybe explained or encouraged a little bit more during law school. They teach you, currently the system teaches a lot of theoretical aspects of it, of the law, some practical things in terms of, like for me, producing documents. If you have a moot court mock trial class, about the advocacy skills, but law is a business. And so the business side of operating a firm, especially because many lawyers come out, not necessarily go into big law, but either open solo practices or small firms, and you're engaged in the business side of it. So understanding just, hiring people, negotiating contracts on behalf of your firm, lease agreements, all the stuff that goes along with actually operating a law practice.
Yeah. So when people hear lawyer, they don't usually think about fun. What something about you that breaks that stereotype?
I think there are several things. I've watched a few of your podcasts or interviews with other attorneys before doing this one, and one thing that struck me was there was a woman you spoke to and you asked her about fun, and she kind of struggled trying to figure out what she does for fun. But for me, there are probably several things. One of the big things that I do is I like to dance. I picked up salsa dancing. At this point, it's been almost 30 years ago, and that's something I like to do for fun in my spare time. I was salsa dancing last night, and I play it on my car, and that's not something I grew up with, but I learned it as an adult. So I do that, and I teach salsa dancing to other people. I like sports a lot. I actually have season tickets to both the Houston Rockets basketball team and the Houston Astros baseball team. Can't go to every game, but as much as I can, I do enjoy going to that. Live entertainment. I like going to theater shows, comedy shows, different things, traveling, of course, but just ways to put my mind in different places other than the law. I think that's been very helpful. And wherever I can find fun, I try to do it. Of course, I take my work seriously, but when I'm have the ability to step away from that, I really try to take advantage of the different opportunities in a city like Houston.
I am so happy for you. And I think that's something that is inspiring because sometimes people just don't think it's okay to have fun, or it's like they need permission. Ooh, can I do this? But I'm very interested to know why salsa?
Well, it combines, I guess, a lot of things that I like. When people think about salsa music, they probably have different ideas about it. And one of those things, because I like it, and people, when they find out I'm a lawyer, the salsa dancers just, they're surprised I'm a lawyer. When I talk to lawyers about it, they're surprised I do salsa because they just seem like such different things. And they are. That's what I like about it. But I guess I grew up liking to dance. I liked watching dance. My household was kind of strict with my father, so I didn't really go to parties or anything like that. But grew up in the 1970s watching Michael Jackson and the Jackson Five or Soul Train, that types of things, and I enjoyed that type of dance. In college, I got to go to a few more college parties. But then after law school, I met up with a couple of friends. I had several Hispanic friends here in the Houston area, and I just remember distinctly one dinner going out with them, and a couple of ladies wanted to go dancing afterwards. And so I tagged along, a single guy, tag along with the ladies, what they want to do. And they went to a salsa club and taught me just some of the basics. And that was 30 years ago, and I'm still doing it. So I just gravitated to, I think, the energy of the music. There's a lot of passion in the music. People think about salsa, the condiment, as a mixture of things, and salsa, the music and the dance, is also a mixture of things. Many influences that are African, European, Caribbean, all those things kind of blend to create a lot of energy and passion in salsa music. So even if you don't speak Spanish, you can kind of get at a visceral level the energy and feel that passion, and that connected and resonated with me.
Love it, love it. If law had a rhythm or dance style, what do you think it would be?
That's kind of a difficult question, just because law, in my mind, it's changing. I think about that from a teaching perspective. I guess when I think about law, the way I kind of grew up and developed with law, I thought about it more like maybe rock music or jazz music, where there is some consistency, but you improvise and have little changes here and there. Honestly, these days, just with the way the political climate is and just our society, what we thought of how law operates has changed a lot. So it's much more staccato and unpredictable, in the sense of, stare decisis doesn't quite mean what it used to, from a lawyer's perspective of, okay, this has been the law for the last 50 years, so a judge is typically going to follow that law. Well, now we've seen at either legislative level or Supreme Court level, changes happen. Even something that's been long-standing law all of a sudden changes. Something that a politician might have voted for a few years ago, all of a sudden they just change their vote. And so things are changing, and it's tough to create that type of predictability. It was rough, but predictable in a sense before, like some music could be. But in the jazz, you get a lot of different directions that you might go, but there's still a flow to it from beginning to end. And now it's just much more choppy in terms of just the legal environment. And that's just a reflection of where our society is now these days.
I agree. I agree. And who knows what will happen in the next 10 years? I mean, the world is changing and at a very, very fast pace.
Right.
Very, very fast pace.
Yeah, that's been the biggest thing. It's just how quickly it's changed. And especially, again, like I said, I grew up from the 70s, and, went to law school, graduated in the 90s. And for, decades, there was kind of an expectation about how the law works and operates. And I've had to adjust to that. And I've had to adjust in terms of explaining that to my students. There was a couple of years at the law school where I taught legal research and writing, which was just more generic, not just contracts, but general legal research and writing, and the value of precedent in cases when you're citing things. And that's changed. So being able to explain that to students, okay, this is what you can make an argument about, the law was this way 10 years ago or 50 years ago, and that could be strength for your argument. It's a little bit more difficult these days. It's helpful, but it's not as reliable as it used to be.
Yeah. So I know, in the legal profession, it can be very stressful. And again, I'm happy that you have this outlet that you can kind of just, unplug and get away. How has dancing helped you with stress or just kind of navigating the legal world, and give you that safe space?
Well, it's It's crucial to it, honestly. It's part of a fundamental thing. And I'm glad that I got into dance so early in my legal career. Again, I've always liked other things aside from just what I did in school or law school or even as a young lawyer. But I guess right after law school, I was what they call a briefing attorney, essentially a clerk at the Supreme Court of Texas for a year. And so I was away from coming back to Houston. So when I came back to Houston to live, again, that's when I connected with friends that got me into salsa dancing. But I realized that just having that outlet where I could step away from whatever stress that might have been created from other lawyers or certain tasks or judges or whatever my expectations were, just the workload. If I can just put my mind in a different place and think about it, it's helpful. So I think that's always been a part of me. Like even during law school, a couple of my best friends were a guy from business school and a guy from engineering school. So even aside from, I wasn't just hanging out with other law students because sometimes the conversation tends to go back to law. And so I liked having friends where the conversation wasn't always coming back to law. It wasn't 24/7 thinking about the same stuff that I've been concentrating on for law school classes. So same thing, just kind of spilled over as a lawyer, and to where dance really has been an avenue for me to step away and also meet non-lawyers. Again, I said lawyers, Hispanic lawyers were kind of the ones who got me into dancing. But that gave me now a new outlet where the other people just in the general community who like salsa dancing, whether they're construction workers or teachers or plumbers or real estate, just a wide variety of people. It gave me a new circle of people to deal with that's not just about the law. And I really have appreciated that.
Yes. So let's talk about you teaching. How did that come about?
Teaching law or teaching dance? They're kind of related. It's a teaching law.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I came about from dance. And so, but basically, I had been a lawyer and teaching dance for a while. And and I teach a style, there's a Cuban style of group dance, is very dynamic and fun. And in that class happened to be a professor and his wife. His wife is from Panama, and he was picking up some salsa and learning from me. And he realized that I was a lawyer and he liked the way that I taught dance. And he thought, oh, well, and he kind of talked to me about, have you thought about teaching law? And I guess I had thought about it, but I didn't come into it having written articles and things of that nature. Obviously, I had practical experience, but my thought about becoming an academic in terms of teaching was, oh, you're publishing articles, you're doing all this other stuff. So I didn't come into it that way. But he liked the way I explained things, and we just had a conversation. He just wanted me to at least talk to him about that possibility. I sat down, talked with him, talked to a couple of deans, said, hey, let's experiment with this. Let's try it for a semester, see how I like it teaching. And again, the contract drafting class, because that was a big part of where my experience was. And that was 10 years ago. So I've still been doing it. So like there really is a kind of a direct connection from law to dance back to teaching law eventually.
Okay, so teaching salsa, teaching law in law school. What do you enjoy most about being a teacher?
I think it's about helping people navigate their way through something that maybe seems intimidating or difficult for them. And I can use my personal experience in terms of, okay, these are things I dealt with that I don't want you to have to deal with as difficult, have as difficult a time as I did getting into it. So again, for example, with salsa dancing, I did not grow up in Latin culture. It was something I developed, so I had to start from scratch. I didn't know anything about it. I just had to adjust and learn from zero. And I think that helps for people, especially who are not coming from a background of dancing, that I can teach them, hey, this is kind of the thing. These are the things you need to look out for when you're starting from scratch. And so, and try to at least help them through. People are going to make mistakes. That's just part of the learning process, but at least kind of helping them through it, make it less intimidating. I mean, I think the same thing applies to law. You're coming to smart people, smart students who may have done well in college or whatever. Sometimes they have college and a career and then decide to come into law school, but it's often different from their previous experiences. And so helping them to adjust between whatever you did before, learning the legal way of thinking about things and doing things, and then using that to represent your clients in the future, just helping them through that process of processing whatever information they had before, their thoughts about what the law is and maybe what it's not, and at least making it less intimidating to get to the next stage of whatever their career happens to be.
I love it. I love it. Any challenges specifically for the law student?
Well, I think the big challenges for law students have to do with managing their time, and part of it is also managing expectations from the professors. But they're, again, most students are taking, if they're part time, even part time, are often taking two classes at a time. Full time could be 4 or 5 classes in a semester, and juggling that time to produce quality work. So I think time management is a big thing. The competition, I guess, is something that's unfortunate, but it's there. I try to let law students know that, kind of once you're in your career, people don't ask about your grades anymore. But while they're in it, they're just so focused on the grade and where their position is in the class and how that's going to help them with the job down the line. But again, I've known a number of people who either went through law school, and it's honestly, it's kind of rare for somebody to end up in their law career exactly where they started. That first job may not be the job you have forever. So just trying to get that big law job, trying to get that high paying job right away, that may not be where you end up, and that may not be for you. I realized for me, it's better for me to be in a small to mid-sized firm starting out. But at the basic level, students think of success as making a certain grade, making a certain amount of money after law school, and that's not necessarily the way that your life is going to feel fulfilled.
I agree. Now that you mentioned success, how do you define success?
I don't know that there's one way. I think it's doing things that I enjoy, having a good group of people around me, obviously making a living that can support whatever lifestyle I think is comfortable. And I think that's it. So, but I don't have to have the largest house or the fanciest, most expensive car or whatever's the most fancy designer clothing. I like to dress well. I like to, I'm glad I have a house. I'm glad I have a car that gets me around. And again, if I go to a sporting event, I want to sit in nice seats. I don't have to be in the front row every time, but I mean, I like to watch the game and enjoy it. So having an opportunity to do things at an enjoyable level, at a comfortable level, that's success to me. It's not, oh, I have more money in my bank account than my neighbor. Or even let's say from a dance perspective, one thing that people will sometimes ask me when they find out I'm a teacher, that I've been doing it for a while, they say, oh, have you been in competitions? Have you competed in dance? And I said, well, yes, but 20 years ago, I've been in 1 or 2 competitions. I got lucky enough to win one of them, and I was happy then. Partner and I won round trip airline tickets is sponsored by American Airlines. That's great. But that's not why I dance. And so since then, honestly, most of the dancing, and if I do performances, they're more about demonstrating dance. It's not about proving that I'm better than the next dancer. It's about just showing the best I can as a dancer and representing the culture in a certain way. And so that's successful to me if people get what I'm trying to show you, not to prove that I'm better than somebody else. And I think that works for law, for dance, for a lot of other things.
Yeah, I agree. Now, you mentioned a couple of times that you're a big sports fan. Do you play any sports?
Not as much anymore. I guess I grew up playing basketball a good amount, I guess around college and law school. And a little bit after that, I played some racquetball and, things like touch football. I have friends that do that, softball, those things I like. Nowadays, most of my physical activity winds up being dance. Basically, dance kind of took over a lot of my spare time in terms of what I would do athletically, in the sense of, okay, I might have a dance performance coming up with a group and also might be playing pickup basketball. And so people who play pickup basketball know that it's an activity, and sometimes you might jam a finger or tweak your knee or tweak your ankle, that type of thing. And all of a sudden it's an injury that makes it tougher for me to perform in the dance. So I kind of started cutting back more and more on doing some of the athletic things because of the potential injuries there, to keep my health in a way that's productive for the dance part of my life. And dancing still can produce injuries too. It's a physical activity, but that's a way of saying I grew up enjoying a lot of sports. I still like watching sports. I just don't participate as much as I used to, but I still stay active. And some people say dance is a sport. Again, I don't treat it competitively, but I still like the activity aspect of it.
I like it. That's good. Do you believe having passions outside of being an attorney makes you a better attorney?
Yes, I do. I definitely do. Again, I just without knowing the scientific basis for it. I just think that being able to put my mind in a different place helps me, gives me time to use one part of my brain, and then I can recharge the law part of my brain. That gives extra time for where I might be focused on law or documents or clients or things of that nature to just totally focus on something different. And so I think having that outlet for just putting my mind and my body in a different mindset gives me a different, fresher perspective when I get back into law. So if I'm doing a project, working on it, okay, let me take my mind off it, go back to law. Now I feel refreshed. Now I can look at this document. Maybe if I had been a little sluggish in my thinking before, I'm a little fresher. I can catch the mistakes and where I need to edit things because I hadn't been as fresh through the production of the document process. That now dance, watching sports, whatever, has given me the ability to reset, recharge, and get back into it.
So, what advice would you give to someone like me? I used to dance, and once I started law school, everything I used to do for fun is just kind of out the window. The only thing I still do is travel because that is a necessary thing for me. I have to go outside of the country. I do find it's very therapeutic for me. I like to experience other culture. And quite frankly, I've been saying that more and more. I tell people that when I go outside of the country, I'm stress-free. I eat well. I sleep well. Once I get back to the state, it's a different thing. So that is one thing I still do. But I used to love to dance. I mean, I'm not sure if I was as great of a dancer as you were, but I used to dance salsa, bachata, merengue. And once I started law school, like I said, I mean, not even law school, I think grad school, I just stopped. Like, I have not danced in I don't know how long. I mean, if I go to a party or, which I barely do, but what advice would you give someone like me who kind of gave up on the thing I used to love to just focus on being a lawyer?
All right. Well, I guess a couple of different things. One, I would say it's never too late to go back. So there's time, and there's a way to combine those things too, because I like to travel as well. And so what I've wound up doing actually the last few summers, as I've gotten, for example, just more into baseball and following the Houston Astros, is usually once a year, sometimes a couple of times a year, I'll go to a city where the Astros are playing. Like, for example, 4th of July weekend this year, the Astros are playing in Los Angeles Dodgers. So took my girlfriend and we spent an extended weekend in Los Angeles. We went to one of the games, but then we also made a little vacation out of it. Also, as part of it, we went to somewhere we could dance. And so, and that tends to happen even for business travel. If I'm somewhere for a few days and I have a free night to myself, I'm going to figure out where the local dance spot is. There's usually at least a little small salsa community wherever I happen to be, and you wouldn't realize it's some small town or some place in North Carolina or Tennessee or wherever. There are different places where people still dance salsa. There's often maybe a contingent of Hispanic people that might be the basis of it, or other people have picked up on it, and there's still that opportunity. So when I travel, I still can include sometimes sports, oftentimes dance, oftentimes if local cultural performance, a play, musician, a singer, that type of thing. So I think there's a way to blend that, but especially for dance, I think there are probably more opportunities than you realize close to you to just step back into it. It doesn't have to be something that you do every day, every week. Maybe it's once a month, maybe just a few times a year. But if it's something you like to do, I strongly encourage you to at least put your foot back in there, see how it works for you. And there's a way to combine your different interests.
Yeah, thank you. How do you want to be remembered both in your personal and professional life?
Let's see. That's a kind of a deep question. I suppose it might go back to what I talked about with teaching in terms of navigating people through certain issues or difficulties. I suppose I would like to be known as maybe a facilitator that helped people through issues. I think I would like to be known as somebody who appreciated different cultures, maybe made things more accessible to other people. So, for example, part of the reason I like teaching dance, and salsa dancing in particular, is because I find it fun, and I think other people would find it fun if they realize how accessible it is to them. And so just that idea of sharing what I know with somebody else, I think is helpful, that they can realize, oh, just because I don't necessarily understand the words of the song doesn't mean I can enjoy it. Or just because all this music is happening and it seems very difficult to figure out exactly where the beat is, I can help you a little bit and get you there. So I think navigating people through things, also sharing with people. If we go back to my sports passion, for all the season tickets I have a couple of seats. So that means I'm going to take somebody with me to the game, most of the games that I go to. And so that allows me to invite family, friends, clients, different people to sit with me for a couple hours. Hey, let's watch the sporting event. Let's have a conversation during the sporting event, that type of thing. So I think there are a lot of friends who think of me as the sports guy because Michael invited them to a basketball game or a baseball game. Some of them think of me as the dance guy because I invited them to go dancing or I taught them a salsa class. Or some of them think of me as the professor guy because I taught a class. And so, but I think sharing some of the things I know with other people, maybe exposing some people to something that wouldn't have otherwise been exposed to, navigating them through difficult times. I think those are things that I hope that people would appreciate about what I did.
Yes. So you mentioned two things. The first thing is your connection to people. That's something that seems to be important to you. Why is that?
I guess I haven't thought about it. Why? I think it's maybe just part of the core of who I am. I at some level, I probably grew up very much introverted. There's still some of that in me, but I guess I've been the type that I didn't really enjoy small talk very much. Even if I'm just talking to one person, but we have an interesting, deeper conversation, that's great for me. So I think I enjoy real experiences, real connections with people, not just the superficial. And so, like I said, if I get to somebody to sit with me at a baseball game, that's at least 2 hours long, sometimes 3, sometimes 4, that depending on how baseball works. But we can talk about things and get to know the person a little bit better and know about your personal life and where you come from and what interests you. I am, never been married. Again, I have a girlfriend the last couple of years, Jessica, but neither one of us has kids. And so that also frees up a little bit of my time to do some of the things that I'm talking about. But just being able to connect with people at that level, share those experiences, that's just something that has been very important to me. And I guess I feel some joy from that connection and learning about people. That's maybe a big thing. I enjoyed learning about things that I wouldn't otherwise do or experience for myself. But hey, you've been somewhere that I haven't been. Hey, tell me about this trip you took to Australia or Japan or whatever. That's going to be interesting to me. But also, maybe we can also share, hey, we both like this particular salsa singer. Oh, you like this song? I like that song. And share our experiences having done that. So it's a combination of either feeling connected to somebody because of our similarities, but also maybe learning something from somebody who's experienced things I haven't experienced, either just at a personal level or cultural level because of their background, religion, whatever. I can learn something from a lot of people too.
Yes. So I've never done this and I'm super excited that I get to do this with you. Dancing goes hand in hand with music. So I'm going to see where you are, right? What type of music do you like? Obviously salsa. But what else do you listen to?
I guess if we're going to say salsa and maybe fit in other things that are similar to salsa, I like cha-cha-cha. It's a variation of salsa. I can explain how that works. I guess I grew up mostly with R&B, rhythm and blues, soul music. So I like that. Also grew up just regular pop music, but I guess soul R&B, from Motown to hip hop, 90s style R&B, 80s style R&B, that type of thing. Those are the things I kind of grew up with. And so again, it wasn't until I got into salsa that it became more of a partner dancing thing. And so I enjoyed the partner dancing aspect of it. And I even took swing dancing for a little while. Again, there's a lot of connections. I think I can appreciate the best of any type of music, even if it's rock or country or something different. If it's somebody who's high quality in that genre, I think I can appreciate it. But probably soul music, jazz music, those are things I enjoy. And there's really a strong connection between jazz and salsa as well. And I think that's what made it easier for me to get into salsa because there's kind of a jazzy foundation. There really is an African percussion foundation to jazz, to salsa, to many other types of music. And I think I connected with that as well.
That's good. So I love music. I listen to all kinds of music. I usually say as long as the lyrics are good. I love poetry. So, the lyrics have to be on point. Sorry to say this, but lately, the new type of music is more about the beat than the words. People just say anything. So what are if you had to choose, top favorite artists? It could be any genre. Top 5.
Right now or ever?
Ever.
Oh, okay. Okay. We're going ever. Let's see. I guess I'll start off Michael Jackson. I grew up with the Jackson 5. I really was a big fan of Luther Vandross when he was alive. So Luther Vandross, people who might remember Tina Marie. Tina Marie was a big, big singer that I really enjoyed. Let me at least throw in another. There are just so many salsa Latin artists that I enjoy. Let's say Gilberto Santa Rosa.
Oh, okay. I was scared. I was like, he's probably gonna say somebody I don't know. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, no. So Gilberto Santa. I mean, again, I can go through a lot of Latin salsa artists because I just love salsa music. Let's see, number 5. Oh, that's going to be so tough. Just names that are coming to mind, people like Maxwell, people like Oscar De Leon, groups like Havana de Primera. There are just so many that could fill.
Hip hop artists. I'm a bit interested in that.
I'll
If
say that again.
you choose like a hip hop or rap artist, who would it be?
For hip hop, well, rap, I grew up on Run DMC. So
I
that,
I was like, Houston, they're on the okay, that's it.
yeah, so yeah, I run it. I had their poster on my wall at college. That was just who I listened to. I mean, obviously, again, more old school was 80s Grandmaster Flash, that type of thing. I can appreciate some of the new people, but like you said, some of the new hip hop rap, it's not as melodic.
A lot of it. I think it's fair to say a lot of it. It's different.
It's different.
It is different. Yes, I like that. And listen, another thing just crossed my mind. I've never been to Houston, and people that follow me, some of my friends, or just random people that follow me on social media, they say, you've been everywhere but Houston. You need to come to Houston. Now, give me a great reason why I should visit Houston.
Yeah, let's see. I guess one word I'll say, if I had to boil down one word, I'll say culture. Because and that there's a variety of culture, and I think what some people don't realize about Houston, because they think of Texas sometimes, and you have different ideas about Texas, but Houston's quite different. And I think people have described Houston as the most diverse city in the United States because there's not one race that's a majority. So you have a blend of black, white, Hispanic, Asians, and everybody has to figure out a way to make it work. And so there are opportunities to experience all types of different cultures or all types of festivals that happen that show appreciation for different cultures. But one of the ways that some people think about the culture in Houston is through its food. Again, because we have such a wide variety of people here, there's a great amount of food variety and high quality food variety, high quality arts, entertainment, that type of thing. But even from food, some people may or may not remember, the whole thing about Hurricane Katrina, dislocating people from New Orleans. A big chunk of them came to Houston. And
Okay, so you definitely have some good food.
and you have other people from different cultures. There was a time in the 70s where a lot of Vietnamese came to Texas and Houston. And so there's a big Vietnamese community. There are a lot of other community people who located in Houston. It's easy to find something here for everybody. I guess the drawback of Houston is we don't have great public transportation. So it's not like you can just hop on a subway and go from one place to another. It's not really a walking city. You do have to drive or get, ride share, Uber, Lyft, something like that to get to different spots because it's very large geographically. But within that geographic range, you're going to find a wide variety of things to do and to experience. And that's why I've enjoyed settling here. And whenever I've had an opportunity to leave Houston, it's like, no, I'm going to stay in Houston because this is kind of the place to be. It's where I'm used to. I appreciate the exposure to different cultures and how we blend. Again, it's not perfect. No place is perfect, but I think Houston makes it work in a way that some other cities have struggled with.
Yeah, I think you sold me on food and culture. That's super important for me. That's the one thing I look for if I have to visit a place for the first time. Michael, this was great. I mean, I can talk to you for days. I'm intrigued by all the different things that you do and how you make it work for you. I'm also inspired to get back on the dance floor. But this is Lawyers Have Souls too. So we are going to end with this. Lawyers have souls too because what would be your answer?
Ooh, because I think at a fundamental level, I think most lawyers care about justice and fairness. I think the practice of law sometimes takes away from that, where it becomes a competition, becomes about winning and losing, and less about the reason why a lot of people got into law, because, okay, we cared about society. We want things, we want a just result, a fair result to happen. But I think most lawyers still do care about fairness and justice, and that's part of our soul. What kind of started the motivating process for a lot of people, even if they got away from it. But that's probably something that comes to mind.
All right. So for my listeners in Texas, Houston specifically, if they wanted to find you, follow you, come to a class, learn salsa, can you tell us where to find you?
Yeah. So let's see. I don't know if I'm able to share a document. Am I able to share my screen with you?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
If you can see that now.
Yes, you can.
Okay, great. So that's the email address for my law office of Michael Whitmeyer. Again, I do mostly business related litigation, contract drafting, review, negotiation, that type of thing. Talks about my dance classes. It also, we haven't gotten into it, but then several different times I've kind of appeared on either local TV or some other television show. And so it has some media clips, things like that. And talks about just my exposure to salsa music and connection with it. So either my law office or the salsa side of me, you can connect, and sports fans might see me out there just rooting for the Rockets and the Astros.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. We are going to end here. What a vibe. I told you guys this was going to be a great episode with rhythm, fun, laughter. Michael, thank you for reminding us that being a lawyer is just not as boring. And you don't have to lose your spark. You can put on your dancing shoes on a Friday night and go out and dance to salsa. You can go cheer for your favorite team. You can do it all. If you want to be a professor, you like to teach people, you can also do that. If you like this episode, and I am challenging you, if you like to dance, you used to dance, you have 2 left feet, go out there and take a class. Find something. It may not be salsa, but find something to do, because balance is super important, especially for lawyers, but whoever. If you work hard, you need a little balance, and dancing might be it, okay? Dancing makes everybody happy. Thank you so much for joining us. This was Lawyers at Souls 2. Until next time, I will see you. Bring on your dancing shoes. Take care.